After the holidays, I was driving home with my billionaire wife when we got into a car accident. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on our first date, a blind date set up by our parents. In my first life, we were married for 20 years. I catered to her every whim, but she always refused any physical intimacy, her politeness a thin veil for a deep, unbridgeable distance. Only later did I find out she was still in love with her first love, an A-list actor. She only married me because she couldn't stand up to her family's pressure. Given a second chance, I chose to set her free. After the date, we both tacitly deleted each other's numbers and went our separate ways. 3 years later, using her memories of the future, she became a self-made billionaire again, taking the New York business world by storm. She and her actor ex went public with their relationship, making splashy appearances at every high-profile event. When we met again in the glittering world of galas and fundraisers, she saw me dressed casually and standing alone and couldn't resist a sneer. "Ethan, I know I left a huge mark on your life, but you don't have to be so obsessed with me, do you?" Ignoring her jab, I smiled and kissed the woman walking toward me. My wife. Seeing my wife's 6-month baby bump, Isabella Vance's eyes widened for the first time. "Who is she? Didn't you say you would only love me your whole life?" Our reunion happened 3 years later at a high society function. Old Mr. Sterling, a titan who had dominated the business world for half a century, was celebrating his 80th birthday, and the city's elite had turned out in force. Isabella Vance made a grand entrance on the arm of Julian Croft. She was the latest wunderkind, a rising star who had secured a foothold in New York with her uncannily prescient theories and execution. A crowd of sycophants immediately swarmed her, tripping over themselves to curry favor. "Ms. Vance, you're a true prodigy. To take a company public in just 3 years, your future is limitless. We're all getting old. Too cautious for our own good. We can't compete with the nerve of the younger generation. Right, Ms. Vance? Ms. Vance, this is my daughter. Do you think she might be qualified to intern at your company for a while?" People scrambled to toast Isabella, but Julian Croft, the man at her side, intercepted them. "I'm sorry, but Bella is 1 month pregnant. She can't drink. I'll take that for her." A chorus of congratulations erupted from the crowd. I, however, was remembering all the times in our past life she had recoiled from my touch. Back then, she had told me she'd been hurt too badly and needed more time to heal. I believed her. It made me feel sorry for her, thinking she had endured some tragic, soul-crushing love affair, and I became even more devoted. I never imagined she was just saving herself for Julian Croft. I lowered my eyes and was about to leave with my drink when I bumped squarely into someone behind me. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't watching where I was going." The commotion drew Isabella's gaze. Seeing my casual attire, she couldn't help but sneer. "Well, if it isn't my old blind date, has it only been a few years? Did your family fall on such hard times that you can't even afford a decent suit?" I brushed the spilled wine from my jacket and gave her a polite nod. "It's been a while." Her eyes were filled with disdain. Seeing me alone, she seemed to have a sudden thought and let out a derisive laugh. "Ethan, we didn't sneak in here just to chase after me, did you? I know I was a major chapter in your life, but you don't have to be so obsessed, do you?" And showing up dressed so shabbily. Before she could finish, people around her started to snicker. Eager to please the new titan of industry, they immediately turned on me with their own barbs. "So, this is Ms. Vance's stalker. What creep. Just a blind date. And he thinks he has a claim on someone like her. Did this guy sneak in? Why would Mr. Sterling invite someone like him to his birthday party? Security? Where's security? Get this guy out of here." I glanced down at my casual sport coat and saw nothing wrong with it. But Isabella, hotter than ever, pulled a checkbook from her clutch and scribbled on it with a flourish. She tore out the check and tossed it at my feet. "Here's 100,000. Go buy yourself some decent clothes. Even though I'm with Julian now as one of my admirers, you dressing like that makes me look bad." The truth is, my family wasn't exactly obscure. Otherwise, Isabella's parents wouldn't have forced her to marry me after that one date in our previous life. She had her entrepreneurial dreams, and I wanted to pursue a career in medical research. But we couldn't both neglect our home life after getting married. Isabella felt she had already sacrificed enough by marrying me. So, she certainly wasn't going to compromise on her career. Because I loved her, I ultimately chose to endure the strange looks and became a stay-at-home husband. Every time she'd come home drunk, she would complain to me about the prejudice other businessmen showed her as a female CEO, or about difficult clients who would nickel and dime her, squeezing every last drop of profit. All I could do was hand her a glass of water and some aspirin and listen quietly as she vented. I thought she would eventually understand the depth of my love, but I never realized she just saw me as useless. Once a client gave her an impossible ultimatum: come up with a $100 million security deposit or the deal was off. She came home stressed and furious, saw the home-cooked dinner I'd made cooling on the table, and flipped it over in a rage. You can't even get a simple meal, right? I don't know why my parents were so insistent I marry you. $100 million. Do you even know what that is? If I were with Julian, he could make that from one movie. I regret marrying you. If only I'd held out a little longer, my marriage wouldn't be such a failure. Somehow, she eventually managed to sign the contract. It was the deal that catapulted her to the top of New York's rich list. But her words, a failure of a marriage, left me consumed with guilt, constantly berating myself for being unable to help her. I made one last attempt. Bella, let's have a child. She refused. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm not ready to be a mother. From then on, she completely shut me out physically. She was rarely home, and her texts were mostly one-word replies. After endless begging, she finally agreed to spend the holidays with my parents. But on the drive back, we got in that accident. In the moment of my death, as I shielded her with my body, I saw nothing but relief in her eyes. Since she hated being with me so much, there was no reason for me to cling to the past after being reborn. I stepped over the insulting check on the floor. No, thank you. If I needed anything, my wife would take care of it. Isabella scoffed. Are you done pretending? What woman would be willing to marry a useless man like you? No real job, no income, just a mooch living off his parents' money and his wife's hard work. She listed my supposed flaws in front of everyone, trying to nail me to a pillar of shame. She didn't notice that I wasn't paying attention, that I was smiling as I walked a few steps to the side to wrap my arm around a woman approaching me. Honey, what are you doing over here? Isabella's eyes were locked on my wife, on her 6-month pregnant belly. Her own eyes were bloodshot. Who is she? Ethan, didn't you say you would only ever love me? Ignoring Isabella, I gently rubbed my wife's stomach and asked tenderly, Are you tired? My wife steadied herself with a hand on her lower back, looking a little strained, but she still looped her arm through mine. When did you get here, sweetheart? You didn't even tell me. The baby is craving your barbecue ribs again, and the mac and cheese, and that slow-cooked brisket, and the creamed corn. I smiled as she rattled off a list of dishes, then gave her nose a playful tap. That's a lot of cravings. Are you sure it's the baby who wants all that and not you? Seeing that we were completely ignoring her, Isabella felt the sting of public humiliation. She stomped her foot, the heel of her limited edition designer shoe clicking sharply on the marble floor. A sycophant nearby immediately took the cue and spoke up for her. So classless, can't even show basic respect to others. Absolutely no manners. Hey, moocher, Ms. Vance is still talking to you. One man, even more audacious, actually tried to shove me. I saw it coming and blocked his hand. What do you think you're doing? My wife is 6 months pregnant. Who's the one with no manners here? Despite me, Isabella made a decision on the spot, turning to the man who tried to push me. Mr. Finch, I hear your company is looking for a round of funding. Are you interested in partnering with Vance Industries? Realizing that insulting me was a quick way to win Isabella's favor, others piled on. Seriously, why hasn't security kicked this irrelevant person out yet? What a loser picking a fight with our Ms. Vance. You don't look like you have a job. My company needs a janitor. You can start tomorrow. How does $30,000 a year sound? You're too generous. $30,000 barely covers premium baby formula these days, right? And he's got a wife and kid to support now. A janitor? No way. What if he sneaks into the women's restroom? Think of the scandal. Ha! Julian Croft put on a show of magnanimous restraint. Please, everyone, let's calm down. We're all civilized people here. Why stoop to arguing with a beggar? He picked up the check from the floor and held it out to me. This, Mr. Red. Isabella meant well. Just take it. Don't let your pride get in the way of a financial opportunity. This is $100,000. It's more than you'd make in years. I truly didn't understand Julian's behavior in this life. Isabella and I were practically strangers. Did humiliating me really bring them that much joy? Thank you for the kind offer, but I really don't need it. Isabella snatched the check from his hand and casually passed it to a nearby waiter. Here's a tip for you. The waiter was ecstatic over the windfall, just short of getting on his knees to thank her. Thank you, Miss Vance. Thank you. Isabella lifted her chin, a smug look on her face. A lost cause serves you right to be poor your whole life. If you don't want this money, plenty of other people do. The noisy ballroom suddenly fell silent. The man of the hour had finally appeared. An aide helped the elderly Mr. Sterling to the stage to give a speech. Thank you all for coming to an old man's birthday party. Today I have another piece of good news to announce. My precious granddaughter has found a wonderful husband and is expecting. The doctor says it's twins. A wave of congratulations rippled through the crowd. Isabella seized the opportunity to dig at me again. I hear Mr. Sterling is about to retire from the business world, and his golden boy son-in-law is set to take over the entire company. You're both mooches living off a woman, so you must be very jealous of him, right? But a man like you who's good for nothing but cooking could bang your head against a wall forever, and the Sterling heirs would never give you a second look. I ignored her, calmly patting the hand of my wife, who was gripping my arm tightly. Her expression was strained, but her excellent upbringing kept her from losing her composure. Mr. Sterling, congratulations! Overjoyed at the prospect of great-grandchildren, Mr. Sterling made a celebratory lap around the ballroom. Guests swarmed him, eager to offer a toast. Even Isabella couldn't resist. Despite being a month pregnant, she approached with a glass of wine in hand, smiling obsequiously as she clinked her glass against his. Mr. Sterling, I wish you a long and prosperous life surrounded by your family. I'm Isabella Vance from Vance Industries, and this is my husband. To everyone's surprise, I cut in with a frown, ruining the moment. You should drink less. It's not good for your health. Julian Croft looked like he'd finally found my weak spot. He scoffed, his voice dripping with contempt. Who the hell are you to say something like that? The nerve of some people. This nobody is dead meat. Daring to offend Mr. Sterling, you must have a death wish. I feel so bad for Miss Vance having a stalker this persistent. Stalker is too kind a word. He's just a creep. Just as everyone expected, Mr. Sterling to fly into a rage and put me in my place. My wife nestled against me, frowned, and complained with a hint of a pout. Grandpa, just listen to Ethan. Please drink a little less. What a phony. Now, she's pretending to be related to Mr. Sterling. Exactly. Who does she think she is? Just because she's pregnant, she thinks she can act crazy and get away with it. The crowd was seething with indignation. But in the next second, something happened that made their jaws drop. The 80-year-old Mr. Sterling tenderly took my wife's hand. All right. Grandpa will listen to you. I won't drink anymore. Isabella looked from my wife to me and back again in disbelief, her voice trembling. You're Mr. Sterling's granddaughter. My wife smiled faintly and gave a polite nod. Yes, Miss Vance, I'm Sterling. My name is Claire Sterling. The color drained from Isabella's face. The glass in her hand nearly slipped from her grasp. She could never have imagined that I, the man she had looked down on, had married Mr. Sterling's granddaughter. Just moments ago, she had been mocking me, saying I was a good-for-nothing who could never hope to get close to the Sterling family. Julian Croft's face turned grim. He had assumed I was just some insignificant pest pining after Isabella. He opened his mouth a few times but couldn't find any words. The atmosphere grew instantly tense. The people who had been jeering at me, trying to have me thrown out and insulting me moments before, were now silent as stone, afraid to even breathe too loudly. Mr. Sterling was no fool. Seeing the attitude of the people around us and the look of someone who just swallowed poison on Isabella's face, He understood everything in an instant. You said you were from what company? Vance Industries. A cold sweat broke out on Isabella's forehead. She managed a stiff nod. I hear Ms. Vance managed to build a publicly traded company from scratch in just 3 years. A limitless future, they say. Weren't you on some billionaires' list? The new Queen of New York. My wife's voice was like an alarm bell ringing in Isabella's ears. Queen is too strong a word, Miss Sterling. You flatter me, but my wife had no intention of letting her off the hook. Her expression hardened. Weren't you the one who just called my husband a mooch? Said he had no manners, that he was a lost cause? Honestly, I had no desire to humiliate Isabella or rub her face in it. Our history was from another lifetime. In this one, our paths had never crossed. I gently squeezed my wife's hand and whispered in her ear, "Let go. Why bother with him? You need a rest. Let's get something to eat so the babies don't go hungry. That list of cravings from before, I promise I'll make every single one for you when we get home." Okay. I was ready to let it go, but my wife couldn't stand to see me insulted. Holding my hand, she walked me step by step to the microphone under the watchful eyes of the entire room. I'd like to introduce everyone. This is my husband, Ethan Reed. He is not a beggar. He is a medical doctor with a PhD, engaged in national biomedical research. Although my grandfather has always advised us to maintain a low profile, I will not stand by and let short-sighted people insult my husband. The Stirlings were one of New York's old money families, known for being intensely private. My wife was the same. So, while many people knew the names of the family members, you couldn't find a picture of them anywhere online. But I never imagined that for my sake, my wife would suddenly reveal her identity to the world, just so people would respect me. In that moment, I was deeply moved. If it weren't for her being 6 months pregnant, I would have pulled her into the tightest hug. I was so grateful that she had never once looked down on me. Isabella watched our intimate display, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. She couldn't have imagined that the man who was once at her beck and call was now someone else's husband, and so happy. She bit her lip, a sour, indescribable feeling welling up inside her. Julian Croft felt it too from the moment Sterling acknowledged Claire as his granddaughter. His eyes hadn't left her. I had looked into Julian's background before. He was an A-list actor, but it was all smoke and mirrors, a star manufactured and propped up by his backers. He and Isabella had been college sweethearts, a whirlwind campus romance that seemed destined for the storybooks. But he broke up with her to pursue a career in Hollywood. Isabella had cried and begged him to stay, but he left with his agent without a second glance, to shut her up for good and ensure she wouldn't stand in the way of his future stardom. He'd even let her watch as he got into his producer's car and fooled around right there on the side of the road. After that, Isabella fell into a deep depression and finally agreed to her family's arrangement to marry me. I could guess why. In this new life, he was back with Isabella, even marrying her and having child. He was clearly after her money, treating her like his new sugar mama. I heard he'd become an A-lister again this time around. If I was right, Isabella must have poured a fortune into his career. But an influencer is just an influencer. Marrying into a dynasty was probably Julian's ultimate goal. It would explain why the moment he learned Claire's identity, his eyes were practically glued to her. Being stared at by both of them made me uncomfortable. "Honey, it's getting late. Let's go home with Grandpa." Claire had been raised surrounded by love, and she had a bit of a playful temper. The moment we got home, she grabbed my ear and demanded, "What's the deal with you and that Isabella woman? Explain yourself right now." I raised my hands and surrendered with a wry smile. "I swear on my life, I only met her once on that blind date. We've had zero contact since. I even deleted her number. You can check my phone." Claire sniffled, her voice catching. "I don't know about that. She seems pretty obsessed with you." Every other word out of her mouth was an insult. "You must have been a real jerk to her." That was completely unfair. In 2 lifetimes, I'd never been a jerk. How should I know what her problem is? I only met her once. If we hadn't run into her today, I wouldn't even remember what she looks like. "Really?" Cross my heart. Claire blinked, her jealous pout impossibly cute. "Fine, I'll believe you this time." She threw herself into my arms. "Ugh, it's all my fault for having such good taste." I picked a husband so amazing that other women can't get over him. I smiled and kissed her forehead. My wife is so adorable. I would never do anything to hurt you or make you cry. Claire rested a hand on her belly and whispered, "Did you hear that, babies? Daddy said he'll never make mommy cry, so you two have to be good." A current of warmth flowed through me. In this life, I had finally found my own happiness. As for Isabella, she was nothing more than a memory from the past. I thought the drama between Isabella and me was over for good. I was wrong. Just 3 days later, her company was suddenly hit with scandals of tax evasion and product safety violations. The wedding of the century that had been splashed all over social media was abruptly canceled. The cause? Julian Croft was exposed for having affairs with multiple actresses, one of whom was the daughter of a powerful overseas CEO. When she found out, she moved to destroy Julian's career, and Isabella was just collateral damage. Her desperate phone call even found its way to me. "Ethan, you still have the same number." I knew it. I knew you still had feelings for me. "My company is in trouble. Can you help me?" There was a long silence on the line. I didn't answer because I didn't think Isabella had any right to call me. Whether she regretted her choices or not, I had moved on. I had a new family. "Ethan, please help me. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you like that in our past life. I never actually regretted marrying you. It's just that I was too hung up on Julian. You always wanted a child, didn't you? I promise I'll have 2 for you." I sighed, my voice laced with weariness. "Ms. Vance, I don't know what you're talking about. I have a wife, and I'm about to have 2 children. I don't need you to have them for me. As far as I'm concerned, we've only met once." Her frantic words came to a sudden halt. A long time passed, so long I thought she had hung up. "So, you weren't reborn." In this life, I had never revealed to Isabella that I had been reborn too. She was the one trapped in her own misconception, desperately trying to prove to me that marrying me had been a wrong decision. But you can't unfire an arrow. She had chosen her path, even if it led to bankruptcy and ruin. All that mattered was having the courage to get back up. She knew so much about the future, giving her countless advantages over everyone else. Yet at the first sign of trouble, she expected someone else to bail her out. But why should they? Why should I help her? "Ms. Vance, if there's nothing else, please don't contact me again." Just as I was about to hang up, Isabella screamed into the phone as if she had nothing left to lose. "Ethan Reed, you'll regret this. You think Claire Sterling really loves you? Only I can tolerate your mediocrity. I'm the one who's perfect for you." She hadn't changed at all, same as before. When things were going well, she looked down on anyone less successful. When things went badly, she envied anyone doing better than her, resorting to belittling and humiliating them at any cost. A person like that never understands where they went wrong. Her so-called regret was just empty words. Everyone thought I had married up, that I was lucky to land Claire Sterling. But I felt that in our relationship, we were equals. She never used her status to look down on me or force me to abandon my career to be her support system. On the contrary, she had the utmost respect for my work. If she hadn't been pregnant, and with her grandfather too old to manage the company, she never would have even asked me to temporarily help run operations. "Honey, if you really don't want to leave your research team, it's okay. The team is full of brilliant people. They'll be fine without me for a year or so. Besides, Sterling Industries is our team's biggest supporter. Now that the company needs help, how could I just stand by and do nothing?" Looking at Claire's tear-filled eyes, I finally understood what true love was. Love isn't about taking. It's about mutual support, mutual giving, and mutual respect. I wasn't about to let a few manipulative words from Isabella make me doubt Claire's love for me. But Isabella hadn't given up. She was convinced I was still deeply in love with her, and that being with Claire was just a way to make her jealous. While I was acting as the interim CEO of Sterling Industries, she used business as an excuse to ask me out multiple times. She even sent a bouquet of flowers to my office every day with a note tucked inside. "Ethan, I miss your cooking so much. Let's start over. This time, I'll be the one to give." Her constant harassment made me realize I needed to meet with her one last time and set things straight. I had my assistant schedule a lunch and made sure to tell Claire about it. "Ethan, you finally agreed to see me. You remember this place, right? It's the restaurant where we had our first date. After that, you started pursuing me so intensely. And Ms. Vance, I cut off her monologue. I never pursued you intensely. That was in another life. Isabella froze, looking up in disbelief. You remember everything. I've always remembered. A flash of ecstatic hope appeared in her eyes, only to be extinguished by my next words. I remember your disgust, your resistance, your condescension, and your indifference. I also remember how you turned and walked away without a second thought right after we were reborn. And I remember you standing on your high horse and humiliating me just a few days ago. Isabella, do you know what I'm most grateful for? That you never agreed to have a child with me. My words sent her tumbling from heaven to hell. Then why did you come here today? I came today to make a clean break. Isabella, we were over a long time ago, weren't we? When I left, Isabella was still sitting there, stunned. In that moment, I suddenly recalled all the little moments from my past life with her. Time really does wear everything away. Those memories were becoming blurry, but they sharpened again when I saw Claire walking toward me, smiling. That's right. That was all in the past. I had already found my true love. Couldn't trust me, huh? You even brought the kids? I teased, pointing to the twin carriers she was holding. Claire pouted adorably. Of course not. I was just afraid our big, busy co would forget he has 2 hungry babies at home waiting for him to earn their formula money. You're wrong. It's 3 babies. You forgot the big one. I took the heavier carrier from her to lighten her load, then used my free hand to hold hers tightly. Don't worry, honey. I will only ever love you for the rest of my life. In that moment, happiness didn't seem so out of reach. And I, blessed by fate, now held the 3 most important things in my life. The end. Part 2.